Hey guys, I have a new guest that's going to be coming. Her name is Deshnie Govender. She is a digital marketer and influencer marketer. Hey, I'm so
I
happy
was
to
like,
see you.
I need to wake up early. I need to comb my hair. I need to get my shit together. I'm also disclaimer because you never know the rules. I'm live on TikTok, and we've got a whole lot of people on TikTok, so we're streaming,
No
streaming,
pressure.
streaming.
No pressure at all. How are you doing?
Girl, I'm tired.
Did you go partying last night? I did, and I'm just like, I'm
No,
still waking up.
no, like you can tell, like I'm old now. I was kind of just like studying on some new stuff that we're working on, and then you fall asleep with your books, and you're like, "What is this life? What is this life?"
With the
And then the
laptop
kidding. So you
open,
like
right?
cancel, you know?
Yes. Oh, well, I'm so happy. I'm also, congratulations also on your new role. That must
Oh,
be super exciting. Can you tell us
yeah.
about
So
it? In fact, let me
it's
not even jump into it. Just tell us about Dish. Like, I'm
okay,
here for it.
awesome. Let me just put my volume up because I think I was a bit lower. Yeah, I think, often when I get this question, I'll like start like by my initial job of what I was. But I think let me work backwards. I'm like, let me change it up for 2021. So I'm 2 weeks in, like fresh new in my new role. So I'm the Johnny Walker brand manager for Africa PIM. So that's West Africa, Central, and Southern. And I'm also look after my two other babies, which is J&B and Bailey's. So they are also really, really special to me. But I'm really passionate about Johnny Walker. I just think for what the brand stands for, progress and spirit, it's really it hits me to my core. So yeah, it's about 2 weeks that I'm in this role, and I think often we chatted about this, the whole imposter syndrome, pushing yourself in a new realm. Those that know me know that I've been the digital girl. I mean, my bio it says digital plug. So I just felt like I needed to kind of pivot my career a bit and just try and understand the brand side a bit more. And that's what I want to do for the next like 3 to 5 years, get the brand side more. And then maybe I might even go more into like, say, e-commerce and then come back to digital and
Yes.
culture. So yeah, so that's the here and now. Before that, I was actually at AB InBev and I just focused on influencers, which was amazing. We know this, right? Like influencers have just changed so much over the last few years, but I like the word creator and creator economy. That is what excites me. And I
Yes.
hope to bring that through in my role now, just looking at, because I don't touch South Africa at all. So I'm purely
Okay.
working in Western, Central, and Southern Africa.
Okay.
And I can tell you the talent is amazing that we have out there.
I love to hear that because the standards of us as South Africans, like creating content, is not the same as the US or like Europe. And when we create our own content, it's got to change the game. Like we've got to make sure that we've got the right videos. We've got to make sure we've got the right content.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The fact that like, we become like my famous line is about you can't read the label from inside the bottle. And irrespective of whatever role I've had, I've always said that I need to remove my unconscious bias, right? So like I know we'll jump all over in this live, but for me it's about landing specific points.
Yeah.
One of the projects I worked on in my previous role at AB InBev was on Smirnoff, and it was really, really important to me. Fantastic brand manager, Jess, where we knew that we had to make sure that it's not about ticking the inclusivity and diversity box, right? It's about the fact that everyone needs to feel represented. And if you look at that campaign that we rolled out, we had Costa Titch, we had Kyle Dage, we had Dopest Chick, we had Air. It was truly South African. And so now my challenge with I say, the brands that I'm handling and working throughout Africa is that me understanding Angola and really what makes it tick and the culture there, looking at Congo. And again, it's not about us as South Africans looking in, it's about spending time there while virtually now, right? And so that's my biggest tip to anyone right now is that the minute you find yourself comfortable and the minute you feel like, oh, okay, it's repeating through the notions, ask yourself, how can you start pushing it? And that has been like the last I would say 2.5 years of my career. Prior to the whole like Diageo now AB InBev,
Hey, I don't know what happened there.
all good. It's all good. So can you hear me and see me fine?
Yes, perfect.
You can
I'm
tell
glad
I
you're back.
love talk. I'm like an IG live. What? No, but to recap my point, I was saying like the lion's share of my career I've been consulting, and so for an example, Heineken asked me to come on board and like work on their influencer strategy for say 2 years. So that will be like 2 months at a time, and then you stop 2 months at a time. But the cool thing about consulting, you can do it for brands, or you could even do it like just for agencies. Besides being really great from a financial perspective because you're multi-passionate and you're having many incomes come in, as long as they're not competing with each other from a function perspective, it also pushes you, right? Because besides the functional skill, your soft skills. So I remember I was consulting on Heineken and L'Oreal at the same time. And it's like you're going in, you're understanding team dynamics in a different way. The way they work in L'Oreal is very different to Heineken. I even did a stint at Accenture. That really helped me understand global teams. Like, I'm no shade. I'm like, oh, I'm writing down those words because I love the way Americans use boardroom language. So I put yeah, that kind of stuff. And
Yes.
you don't get that exposure if you don't push yourself. And so, yeah, prior to that, and then now it kind of takes me to my early career days, I encourage everyone to do this if they want to get into the industry. Work at a creative or digital agency. The Ogilvies, the Joe Publics, shout out to Cerebra. That was literally my first job ever. I was the social media manager on Vodacom. So when you guys would tweet saying, Vodacom, I hate you, it was me reply.
Can we also discuss mental health for social media managers? I feel it's like something that's just not spoken about, especially in the
Can
South
I tell
African
you,
context.
I have a special love for community. And I hate the word even community managers. Hey, Avani, because there's something about the fact that, like, there's this pickings order. And I'm going to call out this bullshit. Like, that's me, right? When you
Yeah.
go into an agency scenario, but it was never like that at Cerebra, it was very inclusive, right? But when you go into an agency scenario, it's like strategist and account director because it's like the thinkers and the people that bring in the business. And then they'll say, okay, cool, the content strategist. So I always say it's the cool guy that makes everyone feel amazing, right?
Yes.
And then you have like the creative team and sometimes notoriously bullies, right? Because they'll come in, they'll say, here's the idea. And then the poor little community managers at the bottom. And you're just like, no, it should not be like that. It should be more like this. Because I can tell you, which is why I enjoyed working on Vodacom as well as Toyota. I would pick up something random, like, on a Tuesday, and I would go straight to the strategist and say, hey, by the way, could this be a thing? I remember, and this was probably about 5 years ago, so it's okay to say it. Beyonce, when does she not trend? And we were like, what if Vodacom tweets Beyonce lyrics for the day? Because you remember Vodacom used to be very spicy on Twitter.
Yes.
And the whole day we replied to customers, like, put a ring on it, put this, put that. It made our day fun, but it also showed you that the idea can come from the most unassuming person in the agency. So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, like started at agency and then I wanted to consult and then now I'm like full corporate. But I believe all those hats all merge into one ultimately wherever you end up. Yeah.
I want to know, and I
Yeah.
think you've done this personally very well, how you merge your online brand with your actual work. Because people are shy to post about their careers for various reasons of being judged or not
Yeah.
knowing how to share their experience without compromising the company you work for. How have you sort of gone about doing it?
Yeah, I think the first thing you should be friends with compliance and HR because you don't want to mess with them. But jokes aside, right? I think it's twofold, right? The first thing is you need to understand, and I actually just got this as a comment on YouTube yet last night. Someone said to me, "How do I build my personal brand? Because I'm an accountant." I said, "You have to understand your why, right?" So for me, and again, I'm being very real on this live. I know there's a lot of people that don't like me, as I know there are people that do like me, because maybe my personality is not for everyone. And that's amazing because if you appeal to everyone, then you're just fake, right? So you know me, like I love my loud colors. I am never corporate speak in the corporate, like I'll put in words. I mean, you have no idea how I am because you got to be authentically yourself. So that's the first thing you do. Start with a piece of paper and say, what is your why? Are you the robust challenger that's an accountant? Are you the golfer who's obsessed with maths and you lecture on the weekend? Whatever it is, write down, that's called your brand world. Once you've written that down, it sounds selfish, but what is your dream? I have friends, and I even have dreams. Like one day, yes, absolutely, I am obsessed with where I work, but I want to work maybe say for a Netflix or an Apple one day. So wherever you want to work, put that. And what's the personality of that place? Because that's why you gravitated, right? So if you want to work for Elon Musk and Tesla, there's a chance that you are a challenger. You want to go against the norm, despite how crazy that he can be at times, right? So now when
Yeah.
you start plotting all of this on a page, you'll start feeling like there are colors, there are words, and you've basically like thrown up on a page who you really are. The problem, and this is where people never make it past it, is communicating that. So there's a safe way and then there's an aggressive way. I think a lot of people do it the wrong way. They just want to start posting, and they make it about me, me, me. The sad thing is no one cares that you're a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. They want to know what can they learn from you. So if you're in the corporate situation, the first thing I want you to do is check out your policy. There is always a policy. So for Diageo, you have to say, I work for Diageo. At AB InBev, you have to say, my views are my own. Accenture, same thing. So whatever it is, even if it's in the legal or medical field, find that rule out and then you play by that. And then if you work at an agency, I can tell you they love that. If you work at, say, at a Saatchi or an Ogilvy, all you're doing is expressing who you are. So now that you've got that legal band out the way, the other problem that people don't do is consistency. So the one thing I said, and I say this to a lot of influencers, just forget all the platforms. What do you love? You know what I mean? Because the thing is, and I'm sorry for Instagram, if somehow the algorithm hears this, I don't like Instagram because I think it's very fake. And I feel like my posts don't get enough reach. So you'll find me, which is why I'm live on TikTok. TikTok's my platform, LinkedIn's my platform, and YouTube. I just got back into Twitter. I think it is very political. I think it doesn't make me feel good as a person. And now I'm back on Insta. And then as you can see now, you're working in a funnel. So you're like, there's your why. Then you've put the layer of your compliance. Then you say what platforms. Now all you have to do is literally just show up every single day and do lazy things, right? If you don't feel confident to speak out, I mean, I still have imposter syndrome that my spelling is correct. You know what I mean? Because I'm not an English major. So what I do is I'll share content. So that means following someone like you, playing, like if they see a content piece that they like and you're like, what am I going to post on Tuesday? Regram or repost or retweet that shit. Start getting in the habit of sharing and curating, and then you flex that muscle, and then eventually you'll find your way. Yeah.
That's actually very true. I also believe in that. There's one thing that people also get really scared of doing, and we're doing it right now, and that's speaking to a camera. Speaking to a camera as a person, it just gives you that, I don't know what I'm saying. Am I saying the right thing? Do I make sense? Are people judging me? Do you ever feel that way? And how have you gotten over it, if so?
Yeah. Actually, last week I got my I wouldn't say my first bit of hate, but it threw me, you know.
No.
Like, yeah, but you know, it is what it is. I know how to separate constructive criticism from just hate, you know. And to my friends on TikTok that just joined now, they know, like, people will come at me saying, oh my God, you're always shopping at Woolworths. But like, yo, I hustled for a long time. Listen, when I was a social media manager, I was there buying my pies and my Cokes, right? So the thing is, if I am buying and treating myself at Woolworths and someone's hating on that, I am very mature enough to know that I get it. It is a reflection of where they are now, and it's totally warranted on their part. But when people start like hating on you, like, you know, especially in our circle, you know how the digital space is, they're kind of like saying, oh my God, the first line they'll say is, who does she think she is? I am the girl I think I am. That's what.
Let them know. Let them know.
You know, and no part will ever be the same. So if you go and look at my LinkedIn, and I've always said this, I absolutely back education, but I didn't get to go to college and study, right? So everything that I've done working hard. I had my first job when I was 17, you know, and that has been my truth. And so I'm unashamed about it. So when people come at me saying, oh my God, like you don't even have a degree, and I'm like, but shame on you, you know, because you don't know how I was suffering when I was 18 and I didn't have any money. So So I often think it's just ignorance. But to answer your question about having that confidence on camera, the number one thing I do is that I pretend as if I'm talking to a friend. And I think about those cool comments where people say, thank you for inspiring me. In my previous life, when I was a DJ, and I was one of the first Indian female DJs in Africa, there were no other women doing that, Indian females doing that. So, you know, every time I would get hate, I would think about girls that want to get in music that never could have the opportunity. So just have even a fake person and pretend you're like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Sarah, and hey, how are you? One of the tricks you notice in all my lives and my TikToks, I never say guys, I say hey friends, because
I do the
subconsciously,
same. It's so relatable. It's so, so
yeah.
relatable. I love
Oh,
it.
Tanya was here. Twitter is far too political. Resharing is my go-to unless I have an opinion. Girl, I'm with you. By the way, shout out to her. She's one of the most consistent. I even hate saying the word influencers because she's more than that, but one of the most consistent
Yeah.
creators. And that's what I love about people is that they're just very multi-passionate and they understand the full ecosystem of digital.
Dish, I just want to ask you a question. Difference between influencer and content creator.
I actually think that, you know, influence for me is more of the outcome or like the verb, if you want to put it like that, right?
Okay.
When people say I'm an influencer, I'm an influencer, guess what? My mom's an influencer because she influenced me to cook the right way. Everyone is an influencer because whether you move one person or 10 people or a million, you're influencing. I think that the term, and I really want people to get this year, right? You need to think of yourself as a media company. So let's say you're an influencer and you've been booked all these times, right? So that's cool. But the minute you start changing the narrative and you say I'm a creator, content creator, but we use the word creator and the creator economy, you're now going into meetings or you're pitching yourself as that media company, because this is what people don't know, right? Let's take two beauty brands and two sports brands. They, as much as you want to think, right, they have agencies. No one's sitting in head office. Well, you know, I can be challenged on that, but no one's sitting on head office saying, I'm going to go find influencers. They brief it to their agency. Now you get a creative agency and you get a media agency, right? The media agency, and this is gold that I'm spilling here, the media agency has a budget. So you start with the most expensive, which is TV. So maybe they've got 2 million for TV for a quarter. Then they've got out of home. So out of home, they'll put 10 billboards, right? Then I'm doing the pecking order. Then they'll have print, but you know, print, I mean, it's not really doing that well right now. Then you get this big bucket, which is great, which is actually digital. So now what we've been doing for the last few years, digital strategists and agencies for that sports brand and that beauty brand, they would say, okay, we'll put like 100,000 on Facebook, we'll put 200,000 on Twitter, whatever, right? That's your system. Now, influencers are part of that pie. So now when you pitch yourself as a media company, and a person that does as well as Slick on Live, Skipani and such, you're now giving yourself an opportunity to not compete, but sit at the same table as Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. When you start thinking of yourself as a human being and you want to go the PR route and you want to say, oh, hey, like, you know, do I have enough followers? It's not about that. You need to be having a business conversation. So the trend for the next 3 years, we're going to be seeing a creator economy. We're going to be seeing media agencies reach out to influencers versus PR agencies. And now you're going to see that a lot of influencers, I'll use that term because everyone knows it, will start having their own platforms. So the thing is, people laugh at people with blogs. It's not about being a blogger. Just have your website. So that way, if tomorrow one of your platforms disappear or whatever, you still have a base. So that is why someone else that I would say follow him, and I've had long chats with him, is Costa Titch. He has such an engaged audience offline. He has like WhatsApp groups. He has names and numbers. So you can tell me someone that has 10 million followers, great for you, amazing. But Costa, even I don't know what's his number now, but let's say he has 300,000. He's actually got 300,000 people that he can reach on his own. So always make sure that you have access to your audience in some offline capacity. And that's why I say call yourself a creator and think of yourself as a media company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like with being a creator, it's very important to also put it out that you have to be good at creating content. That means
Yeah.
copywriting, editing videos, shooting videos. It's just a whole 360 that people think that, you know, I can just show up and just shoot a video, but it's a little bit more. It's knowing that the spec size of a screen is vertical. It's like all those little things. So that's
Yeah.
actually great advice. I love it. Um, I want to ask you, Clubhouse. I know you mentioned it a little while back. I joined Clubhouse. I
I
was on it
don't.
for a week, and then I kind of like fell off. But I want to hear like how are you taking it in? Do you like it? What's the vibe?
Yeah, you know, I feel like a lot of people, and this is me, like maybe there's something when you hit 30 that you're just like, I got no time to lie. Like for me, I just feel like a lot of people are very courteous. You know, they don't want to upset Jack on Twitter. You know, they want to make sure that Zooks is fine on Facebook. I'm like, speak the truth. The thing with Clubhouse, I want to love it. I love where it's born out of. I love the fact that it's disruptive. And, you know, especially we live in a society where we're very judged on optics. You're just there for your voice. The problem is when you get to the different territories. I love Clubhouse Nigeria. Like, listen, I am learning a lot, especially because my gambit now is a lot in Africa. But
Okay.
something about South Africa Clubhouse, it's always the same people on that mic talking in circles on the same thing. And I don't feel like I'm getting enough. Maybe I haven't joined enough groups. So call me out on that shit, guys. That's fine. But I think that we need to understand what is the South African context of Clubhouse. And maybe we need to have better structured groups, maybe with more niche. Because I find myself, I was invited on A1. A1 Wolf had his own, right? Which was amazing, well run. Shout out and props to him. And he asked me to be a speaker regarding just, you know, monetizing content that was well run. The people that joined knew why they were there, and the questions were fine. And then I got on it, which was great. And I started joining a few others. There's a lot about culture and hip hop, but it's the same people complaining all the time. And I'm like, no, we need
Okay.
different voices.
So
So
we
I would
are on
say
the same page.
yeah, 6 out of 10 right now.
Thank you for your honest review. Um, which accounts inspire you? Just two. I just want just two that will educate. One that will educate. One that will be insightful. Anything that can inspire
Yeah.
someone.
I'll go across platforms, so it doesn't really matter which platform. I think that
Yes.
if you choose to just at least find this person, you'll know. One is Bozoma St. John. She is a powerhouse. Firstly, I think you just need to Google her, right, and look at her LinkedIn. Besides being a very strong Black female, and her roots are actually from Ghana, which is amazing. You know, we're always claiming, so it's great, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, she worked at Apple. Like, that was one of her first roles. And you can imagine, you know, back then when they would have those like what I forget the term, but you they have this conferences to announce the new iPhone, the this, the that, or whatever. And then she would go, and I remember she played like Gangster's Paradise, and she kind of announced, you know, the new version of iTunes. But like she was like one of the only Black females up on stage, and she was wearing her bright colors. She was so unapologetically her, and that's when I first started following her. Then she got headhunted. I mean, I'll jump around, but she basically went to Uber. She was like the chief officer there. Then she went to Endeavor. Now she's at Netflix. She's basically the HBIC, right? But the one
Yes.
thing about Zoma, whether you follow her on YouTube, now she's on TikTok, right? Or Instagram, there's no neatness. If you go follow on Instagram, there's no like, I need to be in my suit and perfect. She's just dropping like gems there. She's just saying, this is a situation. If you're a CEO, this is how you handle conflict. And that's what we need to see. So for me, I fall in love more with people, and then I'll decide where I kind of follow them. So definitely her. And then the second one I would say is not so much like a person or an entity, but it's more of your behavior. When you're on Instagram, and I'm the first, and I work with a lot of influencers. That's how I met Tando, right? I work with a lot of influencers, and I found myself following a lot of them. The lion's share of them, I feel like sometimes it's very fleeting. Like I'm not getting enough back. And then there are a few who actually do show me, oh, this is new music trends, style trends. But I felt like I wasn't being challenged digitally. So what I would
Yes.
say is whatever niche you're in, so whether you're in aviation or you're in science or women in STEM, start looking at the online of publications you would go. So like Stuff Magazine, Entrepreneur Mag, Forbes. When you start filling your feed, you know, you've got to feed your feed. When you start filling it with very informative stuff, two things are going to happen. You will be prompted to share that content. So it makes you look smarter. It's a great hack for content. But the second thing is you don't feel like you need to go out and learn because it's just accidental in your life. So if someone has to go and log in right now into my Instagram, even on my TikTok, I follow corporate TikTok. I do follow the luxury bloggers. I mean, I like a little Louis Vuitton, whatever, right? But like by and large, my content is where my life goal is in the next 3 years. I know where I want to work. I know the places I want to be at. So that's why I start feeding myself with that type of content. So yeah, that's my 2 tips.
I love it. You just dropping gem after gem
That's
after gem.
maybe too much.
And we've actually come to like almost the end of our questions. I do have 3 rapid fire questions. You just need to go. Don't have to think very hard about them. Which apps can you not live? Which apps can you not live without?
LinkedIn, because that's how I got my job. I can't live without LinkedIn. And it sounds
facts. We love facts.
Yeah. Did you say 1 or 3? I forgot.
3.
Oh, 3.
Well, we already established that podcast. You have a podcast, so
yeah.
that's
So
more your thing.
next one, Spotify, because music and obviously podcasts are my life. And the third one, which sounds a bit silly, right? But I'm really into like my financial goals, and there's just a whole lot that I want to achieve in the next few years. And obviously, I side hustle. So it sounds stupid, but the F&B app, I'll tell you why. Because I've been militantly tracking my spending. Because often, those notifications go by, and you check your budget at the end of the month. So every day I'm religious and I add to my tracker.
That is actually a good thing. I don't think we talk a lot about that too, like finance, like actually knowing that, keeping track, and just being on top of things.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Amazing.
How can people work with you? Is it still possible to work with you? Even I guess they collaborate would be the word.
Yeah, because of my role, obviously. So I'm not like doing a whole lot of consulting. But what I do is I do like work with influencers. And if they want to do a once-off consultation with me, I don't really charge for it. They can just obviously hit me up, DM me, whatever. And then often I take that and make it. I'll send you my diary, so definitely like that. And then one of the projects that I'm working on, and I just have not had time to properly launch it. I'm taking the podcast, but then I'm adding in a visual layer, which will be YouTube, but then I'm batch shooting it. So I have some really amazing people lined up, but not just like famous people, right? It's more like famous brands and then the people that run these brands. So I'm matching, so I'm making this up. So let's say I don't have him, but let's say I had Trevor Noah, I would have like say the MD of Puma, and then we could like talk about both of that. So that's going to drop in the next month. And then over and above it, just keeping me being online sharing, because my biggest line, and not even just for this year, this month, forever in life, is just that as we rise, we have to lift. There have been 2 to 4 incredible women that have helped me in my career to get where I am. So I have to pay it back. It's like no brainer. So I always like when people reach out and stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this, Desh. I really appreciate this session. I loved it to bits. I'm going to save this live, and then what I'll do is I'll cut it up into different pieces and tag you over the week. So you can just keep reposting. We'll keep reposting the hot stuff.
Okay. You're going to shout out my YouTube. Guys, please, I'm at 500 subscribers. So definitely go check out.
What are you aiming for? What are you aiming for?
I was at 200, but now I've been posting a lot of work from home vlogs. I think people like that. So
I was saying, I love how you create content. You're so great at it, and that's how I was just in awe in the work that you do. So well done. You are changing the game. You're trailblazing and changing the game for all of us.
I'm trying. Thank you so much, and have a great Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Cheers, Desh.